Here we are out for a beautiful drive in the 2018 Expedition, cruising at a touch over 50 miles an hour, knocking down pretty reasonable gas mileage. Now the old girl's got some miles on the clock, but riding pretty good. We're sitting at about 70,000 miles right now. And yes, this thing has been pretty good so far. When I did first buy it had a touch over 50,000 miles. Now we're sitting a little bit over 70. I do an insane amount of driving. Work, play, fun stuff, taking the kids, whatever, running around, living life, let's call it. And this thing rides like I'm on a cloud for a big SUV. I've really got no complaints. It's just absolutely beautiful. Speaking of beautiful, what a day it is to be out driving. Nice out today. So when I bought this thing, it was mid $40,000 range, and the Expeditions, much like many larger or luxury vehicles, SUVs for that matter, kind of gets a bad rap. And that is due to its colossal price. Now, when you buy this thing brand new, a brand new Expedition is gonna set you back these days really close to six figures by the time you're paying, whatever taxes and fees, and the fees alone at the dealerships these days are just completely outrageous. I know when I bought this thing, $600 fee for something I've never heard of, and I thought, what is that? Oh, it's just something we charge everyone. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Everyone gets charged the fun fee for the dealership. That's great. But when I bought this thing, it had kind of a laundry list of repair work that had gone into it before I bought it. New turbos, a bunch of stuff that they couldn't even tell me. And what I found about EcoBoost ownership more than anything is that it seems like it's really hit or miss. You might get a good one, you might get a bad one. So almost immediately after purchasing this vehicle, I had the cam phasers go on it, which is an extremely common problem on the EcoBoost of all sizes and years. And there was a bit of a fix, as there is a new generation of these phasers, and that's what went into this, so I was told. But I'm gonna look past that because everything else is good. It's still got warranty. That was fixed free of charge. So technically it's brand new, ready to rock again. What I find with these vehicles though, is it's really kind of in a nice little sweet spot of its own. I see these things ranging anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000+ still, depending on the year, but this generation in general. And these vehicles were roughly $80,000. I have the sticker for this thing, $82,000 brand new in 2018. And although we can sit here and say that's insane, who would want to lose that much money? Everyone's losing money on new vehicles now more than ever before. But I'm not particularly into that, so I bought it used, and I normally buy most vehicles a handful of years down the road where their largest amount of depreciation has already happened. So I'm saving myself that hurt. But on the flip side, when we're finding a vehicle like this with low miles and good maintenance records, you are getting a very nice car, or a truck SUV, for a reasonable price. And yes, I'm fully aware that these things disintegrate in value. It seems to be, it doesn't matter when you buy it, how old, whatever the case, especially with high mileage, they're just worthless really fast. And the only thing that's keeping this 2018 Expedition a little bit up there in value right now is the fact that a new generation hasn't come out yet. They just did a 2025 refresh, but I know that as soon as a next generation comes out, this thing's gonna drop probably 10 grand overnight. But on to this fun stuff. So I've had it for a little bit of time. It's been great to me. I've been knocking down 20 and change miles per gallon, mostly highway driving. This thing is motivated by a 3.5 liter, 380 horsepower twin turbo V6 EcoBoost and a 10-speed transmission, which means it's got a lot of jam. Not a slow car at all. And depending on how you option note your Ford Expedition, you can have like 450 horsepower in these things actually now. Actually, sorry, I lied. I think it's more like 440 or 445, something like that. Much like the Corvette and Camaros always did, where the Corvette always had to be more powerful on paper than the Camaro by 5 horse or 10 horse, whatever. But that's a lot. I don't even care that this thing weighs like 6,000 pounds. 450 horsepower, that's a pretty good number. What are some things that I like about this? Well, It's absolutely massive. It seats 8. I find myself putting anything in here all the time. I literally just bought a giant TV yesterday. Went in here no problem. The 380 horsepower V6 is great. I've got tons of power. I've pulled trailers with this thing. I've done truck stuff with it. Essentially, it is a truck. It's built on a truck frame. It is a colossal vehicle that you can use for absolutely anything. Now, it has been reliable for me, other than the cam phases, which happened literally like a week after I bought it, which was kind of annoying. It was fixed very quick, so that was no problem. No complaints there. The stereo is adequate. I think it could be better. Technically, if you get the Platinum, it's got a better stereo than what's in here. There is a lot of space we're trying to fill, so that's obviously part of the problem. And I don't really care about this next part, but some people really buy a vehicle specifically for this. This thing turns a lot of heads. 22-inch chrome rims. It's got the right color. It's the extended, well, it's the max. It's a monster. It definitely gets a lot of attention anywhere it goes. So if you're into that, then hey, this is probably something you want to buy. Things that I might not like necessarily, though, are, although the 22-inch rims are beautiful, they are silly expensive to replace. Especially the rims, but even just tires, 22-inch tires, pretty pricey. And just an absolute looker from every angle. Which brings me to things that maybe I don't like about it. And I'm not one of these kind of people that are like, I hate this, I hate that. I could drive the crappiest car and be totally fine with it. And this is obviously not a crappy car. So that being said, I find it kind of hard to think of things that I don't like, but there are some subtle annoyances about this vehicle. One of those, as I am kind of more a performance-oriented driver, normally pretty reasonable, but when I get on it, it's kind of annoying because these 10 speeds are programmed from the factory to go 1, 3, 5, which means as soon as it shifts gears, it just feels like kind of sluggish. It's in the torque curve of the turbos, so it's still moving along just fine, but not where it should be. But thankfully, unlike the latest generation of Mustang that locked the ECU for reasons completely unknown, this is tunable. And holy crap, if you have seen some of the videos of these Expeditions and Navigators or anything with a 2.7 or especially the 3.5 EcoBoost like that's in here, these things absolutely get down with any kind of performance tune. So although that part's annoying, it's fixable. And other than that, I really, now that I've had some proper seat time in this thing, I really don't have any complaints. The only thing I could kind of complain about, but it seems really trivial because you know what it's gonna be like when you bought it, is that parking this thing sometimes sucks because it's so big. But that being said, it has a very reasonable turning radius as far as I'm concerned. This thing, I'm not gonna say it turns on a dime because it's basically a school bus, but all things considered, pretty tight turning radius, and I've had very minor issues getting into tight spaces that I probably shouldn't be able to get into, but I find my way in there. So overall, what can we say? Well, this is the largest SUV that literally money can buy. The Yukon XL, the Cadillac Escalade, the Ford Expedition Max, the Navigator. Those are the biggest SUVs that money can buy. They seat 8, they are very large and in charge. And what I can tell you is that buying a brand new one, you are absolutely gonna see some massive, heartbreaking depreciation. And if that doesn't bother you, then all the more reason to buy it. But if it does, and you wanna save a couple bucks, if you find a used one with reasonable mileage and still has some kind of warranty, God, this is a great family vehicle. And it's just great all around. I drive it by myself a lot, and I've got really no complaints. Other than, you know, of course, the usual, which is the more space you have, the more you're gonna use. So, yeah, does this thing get some clutter every now and then? Absolutely. But you know what? When I had my Acura RDX, it was pretty small. I mean, it's not even comparable in this size-wise, but the RDX was a slightly large, like, I felt like a larger SUV for its class, technically, because I've been in the Tucson, I've been in a bunch of other ones, the Escapes, whatnot, and the RDX felt a lot roomier. But compared to something like this, that is in the same price category, might I add, it's like a little toy.